Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm super excited to be bringing you this video. It is about tournament results in the Regional League Bangkok tournament. So this had around 500 players, so very meaningful, a large number of players, not as many as like the 3,000 we saw in the Japanese tournament. But it's still very meaningful. So that's pretty cool. I'm very excited to look at this, and this is the top 16. So all these decks, therefore, they must be like pretty solid if they're able to beat that many players. Doesn't mean they're like the best of the best, but means they're pretty good. And there's some really interesting lists, and the fact that they performed it means a lot. We see that there's a lot of Lost Zone, a bunch of Giratina, we see Gardevoir, and some other lists are a bit spicy as well. So that's really cool. Arceus is also doing very well. Notably, Lugia isn't as strong, and no Mew here, which is surprising. Mew VMAX is a good deck, but I guess it's countered too much by Drapion. And it's just struggling a little bit. I'm surprised by that, but it's not in this top 16. Doesn't mean it wasn't played in the tournament, though. But looking into the first list, we have a bunch of Lost Zone lists to look at. We see that they're going for pretty generic stuff with Close Experiment, Comfy, running Clara for recovery as well, which is a big change from rotation instead of Rod. It doesn't feel as good, but apparently the lists are making do with it perfectly fine. Then we also see Raihan, Boss, Roxanne as like the Stern supporter lineup. I don't think all the lists play Roxanne. But, you know, it's a nice disruption card, and I think it's very good in this format. No Judge, though. I feel like that could be good. But then we see Sableye, Cramorant, Radiant Greninja, Zamazenta, Snorlax, Raikou, Drapion. So these are like some very solid core attackers. And then also the Raikou V and Drapion V allow access to Sky Seal Stone, allowing you to take that extra prize. Only 2 targets seems a bit sketchy to me, but it will be able to happen enough of the time. And then the Pokemon search is looking like Battle VIP Fast and Nest Ball, which is a bit questionable. It's a bit awkward to pull off. Also, when you're looking at a Pokemon like the Hawlucha here, which is like very similar to Galarian Zigzagoon, you can't get it. You can't search it out with those cards because then its ability won't trigger. It's not a huge deal, though. It only runs 1, and there's no scoop-up net as well, so that's important to keep in mind. But with no scoop-up net, that means spread is very powerful, and all the lists, I believe, play spread cards with Radiant Greninja and Sableye, and then the Hawlucha as well. And so now that there's no scoop-up net, your opponent's not going to play scoop-up net and return those cards to their hand and heal them off. Now we see that Manaphy is being played in like all of the lists as well, or not all the lists, but a lot of lists, and all the Lost Zone lists. It's being played now in current standard pre-rotation, but post-rotation it's seeing so much play with Lost Zone, with Radiant Greninja being the best deck in format apparently. I haven't gotten my hands on this format yet, but I believe that this is the best deck. We see Snorlax for the mirror match, Zamazenta also somewhat for the mirror match, and just two very powerful attackers. And nothing else too impactful. We see Energy Recycler instead of Ordinary Rod as well, because of course Ordinary Rod is rotated there. And I don't remember if I said this. This is in a Thailand tournament. And then we also see Beach Court as like a replacement to Air Balloon. It's just a good card. This other list here, very similar idea. This one doesn't run the metal package, runs the fighting package, I guess, as in it runs 1 fighting energy and a Galarian Zapdos V. Just for, as I guess, a counter to Arceus, which is very prominent and a very powerful attacker in this format. And then we see it's also another enabler for Sky Seal Stone. It just seems like a good card all around, removes special energy, so I kind of like it. And then this list plays Pokegear. This is the list that doesn't play Roxanne. Plays the Lost Vacuum, but overall it's a very similar idea. We are going for those spread elements in the Cramorant, Sableye, Radiant Greninja. This is the main package here, and very powerful as well. This list, again, very similar idea. Keep in mind the lists are all playing for Switch Cart for Rope because those are the best Switch options right now. I believe they have access to Switch still, but they're playing Rope over it, which is interesting and fair, certainly. And then, yeah, this list is very similar to the first one. It's not the same. Again, it's running 2 fighting energy. I like that. I feel like running only 1 energy of the type that you want to attack with is very sketchy. You can also attack with the Hawlucha, which is kind of interesting. Is it good? It's probably not that good, but at least it's an option, so I don't hate it. Moving on to this list with way less cards. This is a Kyogre list, which is pretty cool, which discards the top 5 cards from your deck and does 50 for each energy you discarded. Snipe to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Of course, we see the Manaphy as a card that kind of stops that, but this list is, of course, running more with the spread. We do not see the Hawlucha, which is kind of interesting. We see a lot of water energy. And this list also runs Dragonite V, Medicham V. Very interesting, allowing you to finish off Pokemon after you've pinged them with Sableye, hit them with Radiant Greninja, hit them with Kyogre. You cannot attack with Medicham V's fighting attack, which is kind of interesting. I feel like that could be good, but apparently it's not good enough, which I guess makes sense. We also see Tracking Shoes in this list, which is kind of interesting. It's more of a turbo style list. We only see, wow, okay, the Pokemon search is just 2 Nest Ball. That's insane. We do see the 4 Seal Stone. This list is just super concise. I'm honestly like, this is pretty crazy with the amount it's like cut from the list. Yeah, I can't believe this is just so like crazy. It honestly feels like it doesn't like play enough cards. I'm trying to count. Like, I'm assuming it does, right? So you got 12 Pokemon, which isn't a lot. You got 11 energy, and then I mean, yes, it does. It fills up with like rope, Trekking Shoes, switch card. It's just so weird though. But this list apparently did very well as well. This isn't my style list, but the fact that it has like these various options, the Dragonite V, of course, being very strong. And just like a very powerful attacker. No Sky Seal Stone in this list. The first one we see playing 4 Seal Stone, which is also a very solid card. Making up for the lacking consistency, I think, with Nest Ball and Battle VIP Pass. But it's an interesting list and very powerful, like for big power pushes, but also it seems a bit more inconsistent. So that's interesting. This list is a really... I'll skip this one. I'll go to this one. This one's just very generic as well. I don't think this is exactly the same. It doesn't play the Hawlucha, but notice this one. So it looks like Hawlucha is like a 50-50 split. This one plays Echoing Horn, kind of interesting. The Sky Seal Stone, the same attackers. Doesn't play the Zamazenta. I personally think it's pretty cool, but it's fine to not play it as well. And then we also see like Roxanne, Clara, Boss Fight, Honeyclose Experiment. 1 Pokegear. That's kind of weird, but I guess it provides a little bit more consistency. Again, I feel like 4 Nest Ball would be good, but you know, it's up to you. But yeah, then this list is pretty spicy as well. This one has, again, I mean, it's not that spicy. It plays mostly similar stuff, except it also plays a Crabominable V, which is really cool because it allows you to punish if you just set up a few damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, which now cannot really be stopped. Sableye's attack can't be stopped by Big Parasol either. It can be stopped by Espeon VMAX, but that's not super commonly played. And then we also see Galarian Moltres, baby Galarian Moltres, able to hit super high damage during the late game. This is kind of like instead of the Radiant Charizard people were playing, of course you can Mirage Gate to it, or you can just attach. It's very powerful, the Clara synergy. So I really like this. We also see Canceling Cologne. Okay, this is crazy. Not the fact that they play, not necessarily what it does in the deck. What it does, when it does allow you to go through Snorlax. Can allow you to hit through a few things, but really, it's there. It's pretty crazy. It's there for Klefki. And Klefki turns off basic abilities. I don't think any of the other Lost Boxes play Canceling Cologne. And honestly, it seems a bit hard to hit, but it's not impossible to hit. And then we see, yeah, none of them play Canceling Cologne, it doesn't look like. But yeah, Klefki turns off pretty much all your abilities, which of course is bad for you. It doesn't mean you instantly lose, but during the early game it can mean you instantly lose. So Canceling Cologne to get out of that's pretty crazy as a meta call. Not necessarily what it does for the deck, but it's so interesting seeing someone choosing to play this when you could not play it. It didn't end up paying off. It doesn't look like Klefki decks. I don't think any of the top decks play Klefki. I'm not sure about that though. I haven't looked through all the lists yet, but it's interesting, and I don't know. It could be good, it could be bad, but that as like an option is so cool, and I'm super interested in seeing if that will stick or if it won't stick. Of course, it can be a bit annoying for some decks, but Klefki can be super annoying, so we'll see how this goes. But Klefki being good, it looks like it could be. And then this Lost Box is a Lost Box Giratina list. There are a lot of Giratina Arceus lists, and there are a lot of Lost Box lists, but this is the only Giratina Lost Box list. So I mean, it just combines, like, the two ideas, right? You have Giratina, you have Sableye, Radiant Greninja, Cramorant, and then the Grass Psychic Water Energy. We see a Temple of Sinnoh being run on this list, which is fine, I guess. I don't know if it's useful, if it's better than Beach Core, but it's fine. We see an Ultra Ball, of course, being played to Shattuck Giratina. And a bit of a thicker count, a 3-3. Oftentimes we've seen thinner counts, but this list shouldn't play a thicker count. And then an Ultra Ball, which is only one Ultra Ball, which is fine. I feel like it's a bit inconsistent when getting up Giratina, but you should be able to get up your other attackers fine, so it's not a big deal. This is running Lumineon as well because, of course, when you're playing a big attacker that's multi-prizes, that's going to be put into play every match anyway. Playing Lumineon is not as big of a deal. And also, this list plays 2 Roxanne for greater disruption, so that's pretty interesting. But really, this list isn't anything super special. We see the 1 Lost Vacuum as well. Presumably, Star Vacuum is a very good attack, as is Lost Impact, and then you have no weakness and big HP, so just a good Pokemon all in all. This is nothing special, though, almost nothing new, but it's still unique to look at. And we see 3 Arceus VSTAR Giratina lists, and yeah, they all look pretty similar, but super cool. So they all run Arceus, Giratina, and they all run Barrel. This list running Drapion. We've seen almost every list run, not every list. Actually, not that many lists. We've seen, look at the Lost Box list, there are 6. We saw half of them on Drapion, but I feel like Drapion's pretty common. Like, that's why Mew's kind of scared away. But Bidoof Barrel here is pretty... it kind of makes sense when you're playing for Ultra Ball. The Giratina, of course, a very solid attacker. We see V-Guard energy as well, so playing 14 energy, that's a lot. It makes sense, so we see Path as well. So it seems like if your opponent plays a Stadium, actually it's not that bad because you don't have to use Star Breath. You can use Star Requiem, and that's not too bad for you. This list running Serena, also Colossus Experiment. So you can use Star Requiem. It's awkward to use, but if you attack a few times with Lost Impact, use a few Colossus Experiments, and then you can pull off that Star Requiem. Oftentimes, lists before this would never use that, but playing Path, it looks like that's a valid option. And then we also see 3 Judge. So Judge appearing very strong here, especially now that you can draw out of it with the Barrel. 4 Ultra Ball and 4 Nest Ball, seeming like the best option for Pokemon search. I really like this. We also see 4 Trekking Shoes, which is kind of interesting. I'm surprised the list has room to fit it. It looks like they cut their Pokemon counts a bit thinner, but still, no Sharon's Care either. We see 1 Belt, like 1 Switch, 1 Rope, Pal Pad, pretty generic stuff here. But, it just looks like a really solid list. We also see the Raihan, which is almost a necessity in an Arceus list now, I'd say. But yeah, this is just looking... okay, you could play Melanie instead of Raihan in a water list, but you get the idea. You want to be able to accelerate that energy in the early turns and search it out with Star Breath, and that can be very important. So, it looks pretty solid. This looks like the kind of list that just makes a lot of sense, and I really like it. And let's look at the other ones. This one's pretty similar. We see actually Split and Bidoofs. That's kind of fun. With the idea that the Bidoofs are very vulnerable to something like a Stabilized Spread attack. We don't see any Manaphy's in these lists still, though. This list is running more tech card. Is it? Yeah, it's running more cards. We see 4 Path and a Lost Vacuum, so able to bump the Path and not running the Colossus Experiment. So this will not be using Star Requiem ever. This is kind of like how we'd come to expect Arceus Giratina, which is a very solid deck in our current standard format. Pre-rotation, but post-rotation is also looking very strong. We see the Judges, the Research now, Sharon's Care as well. And Boss. Yeah, this list played Boss and Serena. We're seeing not too much Serena. Apparently it's just not good enough, but with EXs and single prizers, but it makes sense. And we see Sharon's Care looking to be more defensive, still with the same energy counts of V-Guard energy. And then the Lost Vacuum in 4 Path. I kind of like that. Of course, Drapion here to counter Mew, so we see another Drapion popping up in a list. This one, oh yeah, this list did play Drapion. And then Judge. Judge, I think, is very good in this format. I like it. I don't love it. It's not as powerful as a Marnie, but I feel like Judge Path is pretty strong. And then you can kind of capitalize on your opponents by, like, locking them up or getting a very big Pokemon in the active, and then they're just not able to KO it, and you can kind of win from there. And then this list, okay, this one's much more spicy. And then we have another... okay, where's the... I gotta move this list. The Arceus list. But yeah, Arceus here with Giratina. This one's playing so many more cards. We see the same amount of energy, but we see lightning energy here with the Flying Pikachu, a 1/1 teched in there. And Radiant Gardevoir as well. These other 2 lists played no Radiant Pokemon, showing that you don't need them to win, which makes sense because a Radiant will kind of get shut off by Path. This list having to play 2 Path, but then a Collapse Stadium as well, which is kind of cool. Allowing you to bump Path, more importantly. And then it's pretty cool. It plays 4 Judge this time, not wanting to get rid of resources, which makes sense when you play a lot thinner counts of cards. You see this list is just super safe. This list, a few more techs. This list, all the techs. and it's kind of like an Arceus box style deck. And then we see that it also runs the new Squovit, which I think is one of the coolest cards from the new set and one of the best ones. Very synergistic here with the barrel. So very nice there. And it essentially puts your hand on the bottom of your deck, and then you draw a card. Essentially resets your hand, preserves your hand, and allows you to draw more cards with the barrel, which is a very nice. And then I think they all run for Ultra Ball, for Nest Ball. It's the Switch Robe, all that good stuff. And then, of course, you can't attack with Star Requiem. So you're going to try to attack with use Star Breath every game because that's your V-Star power of choice. I do feel like a Pumpkaboo could be played in these lists, but they're just choosing not to because I guess it's too much of a vulnerability for a number of reasons. It's awkward. It's horrible to start, and it gets easily KO'd by Lost Box, which is the biggest threat in the format right now. And that's why I like Sharon's Carousel. This list only plays one and no Palpad. Versus this list does not play any, but this list plays 2 Sharon's Care and a Palpad. So you can Sharon's Care 4 times. This one you can only do it once, and the one you can't do it at all. This one getting a bit more techy. We'd see the Serena coming in, the Raihan. Nothing crazy there, but it's getting very techy, and I kind of like it. It does seem a bit inconsistent, but the Squovit adding that power as well, I like that a lot. And then this Arceus list is pretty surprising, I guess. Insane. I don't know what to say. It's cool, though. It's obviously very techy as well. Apparently not as techy as this list. Or is it? No, it's more techy, actually. Yeah, anyways, it's Arceus with the Curlia engine. We do see 2 Gallades, allowing you to search for supporters. We see a ton of 1-ofs, of course. Then we see Roxanne, Raihan, Clara, Serena's, Sharon's Care, all those 1-ofs. And then 2-ofs with Research, Boss, and Judge. And then a Palpad. I would like to see a second Palpad, but we don't see that. But, of course, you can attack with Gallade as well, doing 160 for 3. Or if you have a double turbo, you're only doing 140. You can stick a belt on, but you're still 2-shotting V-Stars with that Gallade, which is very nice. And then the other Gallade with Dynablade, essentially one-shotting Arceus. It does fighting, or not necessarily, but it can. 60 for each V they have in play in its fighting type. It's just a very interesting card here. Also can use Feint for doing 60 for 1 Psychic. And then we see Fire Energy here. Delphox V. I'm not very familiar with Delphox, to be honest. I know it lost its energy. I believe it does Snipe as well. I'm going to look that up. I should definitely... No, that's not it. Come on. Delphox V here. So I know it's very strong, and it does, so it does 120 to the active, 120 to the bench, and put 200 attached to it to the Lost Zone. Where is the list? So Delphox V, very powerful of a card, and then Radiant Charizard, so a nice fire package there. Allowing you to do Snipe. We see the Manaphy Dunsparce, so trying to stay alive and playing it very safe with those tech cards. And so Delphox obviously is stopped by Manaphy, but some lists aren't playing it, and it allows you to take multiple prizes. I would say it's a bit vulnerable to water Pokemon, which are seeing a solid chunk of play, but not a ton. It's kind of weird. And then we also see, of course, the wide variety of supporters being searchable with the Gallade, which is really cool. Soon Heavy Ball to get out those tech options. We see Level Ball, which is the first time we've seen that. I just realized the Lost Box lists aren't playing Level Ball, which is pretty crazy. It just doesn't search all the cards, though. But I really like this list. It's kind of complicated, but it's really cool. We see 2 Path and Magma Basin as well, so getting pretty creative here. I honestly wouldn't hate a Thornton here because you can turn your Pokemon into a Radiant Charizard, but I don't know if that's really ever going to be worth it. But overall, I really like this list. It's really fun. I don't know if it has the power to compete because honestly, it doesn't even hit that hard, but it's very versatile and should have very competent attackers for every matchup, which I like a ton. Oh, also, I'd love to see another bump to Path because you need to otherwise Magma Basin like near the end of the game, and then they're going to Path, and you can't attack with Radiant Charizard, which is kind of annoying. But now we have a Lugia list. This is Lugia Archeops, of course, running with Single Strike package now. Actually playing that Yveltal, the Single Strike Yveltal and the Single Strike Stonjourner are pretty underwhelming cards, but when paired with 4 Single Strike on them, they're pretty good. And then Tyranitar V is a very, very strong card in this list. How many cards does it discard? I think, is it 4? I don't know, but it's that's what I've never seen that card before. This Tyranitar V, discard the top 4 cards of your deck when you use it. That's a lot, obviously, but You can kind of deal with it. You have Professor Burnett as well to get that early Archeops off, but discarding cards from your deck feels kind of bad if you discard lots of important cards. But notably, you can recover your single strike energy with the Urn of Vitality, which is very strong. We see the Pumpkaboo. We see, I believe, Mesagoza, allowing you to search for Pokemon, Collapse Stadium, to do some interesting stuff with Luminion or just hurt your opponent or bump Path. We see Nest Ball, Ultra Ball for research, 2 Judge and Burnett. And then, of course, the 2 Luminion. And Ultra Ball is only searchable with Luminion is only searchable with the Ultra Ball because it goes straight onto your bench. This list does struggle with the loss of Quick Ball a lot, as well as, of course, the loss of all this energy that it really wanted to use other than Double Turbo and V-Guard, which we see still in the list as well. We see Regenerative Energy, which is pretty crazy. As well as Gift Energy, those are kind of weird. The list is just kind of struggling to find all the cards that it's looking for. But Tyranitar V is still a very strong attacker, and it will take the place of any other attacker previously because it just one-shots everything. There are other ways to play it, to play Lugia, but this appears to be the best. Of course, you can see why it's struggling, though, with the weird stuff it has to play and Capturing Aroma. Yeah, I think this is the first list we've seen play Capturing Aroma, which is just so random that it kind of like hurts to play, but it does allow you to get the Luminion and then put it onto your bench. It does allow you to, of course, also search out those Archeopses and those Lugias, which you need. So it makes sense in this list, but it's still kind of random and kind of hurts to play. But, you know, it's nothing too crazy. We'll see how Lugia shapes up post-rotation. I think it's much more of an interesting deck and much more of a balanced deck and a cool deck, although a bit weak, honestly, I'd say. And then we see Radiant Serena as well. I don't really know why Radiant Serena is in this list. I guess because you can tank, but I don't really love it. I haven't run the list, but I'm not sure what it's there for exactly. So I'd be interested if you could comment that down below. Because I haven't played, honestly, I don't play much Lugia at all, but I'm not sure what it's there for. It does obviously give you more tankiness, but something like Radiant Gardevoir seems a bit better. It can be hit by Path, but yeah, I don't know. And then we see a few Gardevoir lists. Do we see 3? Yeah, we see 3 Gardevoir lists here. All playing relatively similar cards. Of course, running the Zacian V and the Sky Sealstone, only 1 V. This list running 1 V. This list running 1 V. And the Sky Sealstone, very similar. We see Temple Center and Collapse Stadium as the stadiums of choice to bump Path. And then do we see other stadiums? No, okay. Oh, these lists are like pretty much the same thing. Not that list though. We do see the Cresselia run in this list as a counter to Lost Box, I've been told, as a very, very solid attacker. I'm personally a fan of Galarian Articuno more, but they are different as well. We also see Emergency Jelly as a nice healing option for notably Gardevoir. And also we see Avery, Judge. We don't see the Glade run in any of these lists. I really think it's a good option, especially when you're running ThinkCast supporters. Also, I'm not a big fan of Arven, but apparently people are liking it a lot in this style of list. I think they all play Arven. Able to search out Sky Sealstone and Emergency Jelly, which seems very good. No choice. Oh, no, we do see a choice ball in the 1 list. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Level Ball, Battle VIP Pass, Fog Crystal, no Nest Ball. I personally think that could be good, but yeah, none of them are choosing to run it. I'm not a big fan of Battle VIP Pass. It's just a weird card, but you can discard it as well with Kirlia. We do see the Mirage Step Kirlia played in all the lists. We also see 4 copies of the 70 HP Ralts. I personally feel like the 60 HP Ralts could be good here, but apparently other people don't. Some people are running it, but most aren't. It doesn't look like. We also see Judge as the main supporter here. This list literally runs all 1 of supporters. It doesn't play the Galade that searches supporters. I feel like you just have to at this point. So the whole row of supporters. 10, or is that 11? 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 unique supporters. Like, that's crazy. And no way of searching them out. I do like Judge, obviously. That I keep clicking on the wrong list. But then we see Worker as a bump to Path. We see Claire's and Miriam as recovery. So a lot of the supports in this list kind of provide the same value. And then we see Radiant Greninja and Manaphy in all the lists. They're not similar cards, but Manaphy, of course, is the defensive option. Radiant Greninja as an offensive or as like a turbo engine. And then also the Mew. One Mew I learned is actually very solid because you can kind of like retreat into it turn 1 and get value out of it, especially to search your rare candies in the early turns and search out like Battle VIP Pass turn 1. I'm not sure if I personally love it, but some people have said that it's been very good. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Nothing crazy here. The supporters are pretty whack, but I feel like that's just a bold play. I don't know if it's necessarily good or not. And they are very similar as well. So I think there's a lot more to be discovered with Gardevoir. Once like everyone's gotten their hands on it, other than just like the one region. Not that they haven't innovated with it, they have certainly. We see the meta shaping up in one specific way with this list, but I think there are a lot more ways that are viable. And then the last list here, this list is absurd. Yeah. So it's Dialga VSTAR. It's not playing Metal Saucer, of course, because Metal Saucer is it's rotating, right? But we see 20 metal energy. Yep, 20 energy. That's a lot, certainly. So yeah, this list is pretty crazy. So first of all, what's there to say? So the Magnemite, it's they're playing the new Lightning one. Its attack is kind of useless. It's not completely useless, but it's pretty bad. But it can be searched out with Miraidon EX, searching for basic Lightning Pokemon. You can actually attack with Miraidon EX, and you can also attack with Rotom V. It doesn't really like do any damage though, so that you don't want to do that. But you can of course attack with the Dialga VSTAR. So your main attacker, you can attack with Magnezone and Magnezone EX as well. A very okay tech attacker. But then you're of course going to rare Candy. You're just going to get thinned out by Magnezone, which accelerates energy from metal energy, I think, from the top of your deck. So the idea here is that you get Magnezone into play, and then you just do this is crazy. Irida also having good value, and Adaman having a lot of targets with 20 metal energy. That's still insane. Stormy Mountains and Miraidon both allowing you to set up your Magnemites, which is pretty crazy, and Rotom V to be able to get you set up in the early turns. And then we also see Thornton is like an option with like Lumineon, and you have Serena. Serena's pretty normal in boss, but Cheryl allowing you to heal off all your Pokemon, and then of course you can recover. Well, you don't recover the energy, but you just accelerate a bunch more after. You can get multiple Magnezones up. This is like the craziest list I've ever seen that actually makes sense. It makes so much sense. So you have Miraidon as like a perfect synergy card, allowing you to get up your basic and your energy card, and Rotom V. Rotom V very similar to Zacian V and Dialga, but it's searchable too. This is crazy. Magnezone now having the Psychic Magnemite being, I guess, the missing piece, and Magnezone EX is like a weird tech attacker. Like, what is going on here? Also, the fact that you got like the lightning energy, how are you ever going to find that? I don't know, but I think your deck gets very thinned. We see like 2 Nest Ball, 2 Balvia, Peepass, 3 Ultimate Ball. This is just a mess, but it looks so fun. And honestly, it looks pretty good. Very weird, but very good. With a lot of power. Dialga VSTAR, of course, being one of the best VSTARs in the game in terms of its VSTAR power. Just like, if you pull it off, you don't just win, but you're in a very good spot. We also see the 330 HP of that Magnezone EX, which is pretty insane. And then Miraidon EX, you're not really ever going to attack with that, but you theoretically could. Yeah, I don't know. This is like the coolest list I've seen in a long time, but I hope you think so too. This is just super awesome. But you know, I hope you're enjoying. I hope you're hyped for this new format. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, I'm gonna be posting my own Scarlet and Violet list soon. I think. I don't know. I'm not sure how. I haven't planned that out quite yet. But you know, I hope you're enjoying it. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.